What up? It's your boy T-Bone Reaction. Today is Wrestling Wednesday on Wrestling Reaction. This is from Wrestling Lane. This is 10 W Tag Team Breakups that destroy our wrestler's entire career. That is the one cons that happens when a tag team breakup, especially if, there's time where the tag team or team breakup leads to start from both teams, but most of the time there is only start from one player and a down sign for the and doom for the other as well too. What it is doom for one who turned heel on the greatness for the one that turned heel on the person, or doom for the one who you got turned heel as well, and doom for the face, or vice versa. Sometimes Other than that, though, we're gonna take a look at some of the tag teams that the breakup story. That's what we fear about. And if you recently, Montez said the main reason he don't want to break the Street Profits breakup because he don't want Dawkins to fall in that, because he afraid that might be the case as well too. And that's why a lot of us don't want. As much as we want to see Tez be a single man, we still don't want Dawkins to fall in that trap as well either. But other than that, without further ado, let's see those who did forcefully had that kind of unfortunate outcomes in their breakup. Let's get it. Of course, yup. That damn Matt.
Nothing lasts forever in pro wrestling, meaning that when a new tag team is formed, you can already begin preparing for the inevitable breakup.
Yep.
Traditionally, a tag team's dissolution will lead to a brief feud between the two members before they embark on their own paths, with mixed results typically following, as one member is bound to go further in the industry than their former running partner. Sometimes, however, a wrestler breaking away from their long-standing alliance will actually be the nail in the coffin of their entire wrestling career. Join us now as WrestleMania looks at 10 WWE Tag Team breakups that ruined a career. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10, The Rockers, Marty Jannetty.
Oh yeah, you already know. And not only that, just this man went a serious downhill spiral ever since. Although it still like it was desperate for that, because he had a little outside of wrestling the issue going before, but at the same time, yeah, man.
Sounds unfathomable these days. Marty Jannetty was once an affluent wrestler. As a member of the Rockers alongside Shawn Michaels, Marty was as good as Michaels was at the time, and it was difficult to select which one of the two would go on to greater success once they split. Although on Brutus Beefcake's barbershop, super kicking him and throwing him right through the set's glass window. Although many point out that Jannetty was such a coward that he threw himself through the window. But in reality,
Jesse. It was so Jesse Ventura, pretty much the heel competition went there, and some of these heel things these days go along with it as a late.
A notorious backstage fight ended all hopes of Michaels and Jannetty remaining civil. From there, Shawn Michaels went on to become one of the very best wrestlers in the world, while Marty Jannetty's career went down the drain. And it wasn't exactly the fault of the creative he was given. He was in and out of the door more than a domesticated cat at the height of summer, and his personal life raised more questions than it did answers. While both men were talented, interviews and later accounts frequently pointed to Jannetty's struggle with drugs and alcohol as key differences in their careers. In many interviews, Jannetty himself admitted to a wild lifestyle on the road, including exposure to heavy drug culture, even recalling environments where narcotics were easily available at wrestler parties. But his first major downfall came in 1992, as according to documented reports, Jannetty was arrested after an incident following police was found in possession of cocaine. This led to suspension and eventual release from WWE, derailing a planned singles push after the Rockers split. The moment is widely seen as the turning point where Michaels went on to superstardom, while Jannetty's career stalled. According to many interviews, Vince McMahon saw him as a problem child despite valuing his talent, and this would create a pattern in WWE. They would rehire him, and release him, give him one more chance, and then release him. Obviously, Michaels had issues with drugs, but Michaels eventually recovered from his addiction, whilst the same couldn't be said for Marty Jannetty. Bizarre rants and claims have all led to the suspicion that Marty Jannetty hasn't cleaned up his act even in his later years. Number 9, The Hype Bros, Mojo Rawley. On November 28, 2017 episode of SmackDown, Mojo Rawley turned heel on Hype Bros partner Zack Ryder following a loss to the Bludgeon Brothers. On the pre-show for the following month's Clash of Champions pay-per-view, he defeated Ryder to continue his newfound momentum, and then as part of the United States title tournament in January, he repeated his victory. But yet, it was Mojo's career, not Ryder's, that suffered significantly once the Hype Bros had run out of hype. Within months, Mojo was feuding with the lowest of the lowest mid-cards, including No Way Jose and Tyler Breeze, while Zack had reunited with Kurt Hawkins, which would ultimately result them in winning the Raw Tag Team Championships at WrestleMania 35, in what was at the time a sincerely heartwarming moment. Their differing trajectories were night and day, and worst of all, Ryder has since claimed that he hated this period of his career. Speaking on an Off the Chops podcast, he explained why.
It sucked. At first, it was an opportunity, and I took it as an opportunity. I went to NXT. I'm like, all right, well, let's fucking go. And me and Mojo, we both fucking tried, but like, it wasn't. We were told we're gonna be down in NXT for a couple months, and they called Mojo up, but like that never happened. So I was doing the WWE schedule, the NXT schedule. Then I ended up winning the IC title at WrestleMania. I'm like, oh, good, thank God. I come back just to be with Mojo again. You gotta be fucking kidding me. So it's not like against him. I just fucking hated it.
Damn.
Rawley's last match in WWE was in June of 2020, losing to Shorty G, and after 10 months of inactivity, he was then released from his WWE contract. And it seems like Mojo Rawley is literally retired from wrestling, as after leaving WWE, he and Stephen K founded Paragon Talent Group, which has been very successful. Number 8, the Funkadactyls, Cameron. And chances are there wasn't a single...
It's the fact that she got in when she once she was the very first elimination of that Tough Enough with Stokely Steve Austin. The fact she barely knew, and then her favorite title match was something out of the blue. I think it was Lita versus Trish. I mean, it was not bad just for a top one. Yeah, it was questionable. The fact she made it more than ahead of the actual winners of that year was very questionable. So yeah. It was doomed from the start. We knew once they broke out, if they ever broke out, it would be a surprise she didn't be the one that it would be a surprise if she wasn't the one that would fail out of the breakup. Be honest.
Person who cared when WWE started the Funkadactyls in 2014. They'd barely been.
And then Joel Diva really exposed them more.
Television typically only being called in when the company needed a couple of extra bodies, and that's precisely what was happening here. In the wake of WrestleMania 30, both Naomi and Cameron started a feud with Paige because without AJ Lee, who'd been granted time off, there weren't any credible threats to a reign as Divas champion. This would mark their downfall as a team, as following a loss to Paige and the now returned AJ on the July 7th Raw, the Funkadactyls would become embroiled in a cat fight that signaled the end of their friendship.
It was brawling.
Their supposed blow-off match at Battleground later that month saw a freshly healed Cameron walk away victorious, but the tag team's Wikipedia write-up summarized their respective futures best. The two would continue having matches going forward, with Naomi always picking up the win. Cameron did very little following the breakup and would be moved to NXT ahead of a May 2016 release. But as for Naomi, she eventually became one of the WWE's biggest assets, with 3 World Championships to her name, the most recent of which followed her incredible heel turn in 2025 and subsequent Money in the Bank victory. Number 7, Too Cool, Grandmaster Sexay.
Yeah, his situation is just sad, yo. R.I.P. to him, man. His situation was just depression. Cool, man.
More celebrated as a trio alongside Rikishi than as a two-man unit, Too Cool were a defining act of the Attitude Era, with the boisterous dance moves and bucket hat-wearing antics making them beloved by many. This strong reception was felt too by the WWE, as Scotty 2 Hotty and Grandmaster Sexy would have a brief reign with the Tag Team Championships, which says a lot considering the era was dominated by some of the very best tag teams in history. Unfortunately for the group, it was one bad thing after another. Once Rikishi has bounced back following his calamitous heel turn on October 2000, a broken ankle sustained in March of 2001 sidelined Scotty, but it was actually Grandmaster Sexay who suffered the most. He was cut from the company that May after being detained for drug possession while attempting to cross the borders between the US and Canada. The second-gen star was never the same again, as although he managed to reunite on screen with Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty for an old-school Raw in 2014, this came after an awkward 2011 return that still makes for painful viewing. Tragically, Brian Christopher ultimately took his own life in July of 2018 at the age of 46. Number 6, Jesse and Festus. Jesse.
Biscuit and gravy. Biscuit and gravy.
With the intention of finding this generation's Hart Foundation or Hardy Boys, but WWE seriously may as well not have bothered when the gimmick of Jesse and Festus was first pitched, which would have seen Jesse act as a handler, for lack of a better word, for the absent-minded Festus. Nonetheless, it escaped the writer's room and they became the Ruthless Aggression's newest cannon fodder.
Yep.
Unsurprisingly, they didn't come anywhere close to winning the tag team championships before WWE mercifully sent them on their separate ways in the 2009 draft. Both then developed new gimmicks as Festus became Luke Gallows as an enforcer for CM Punk, while Jesse became Slam Master Jay, a white rapper. And we'll let you figure out which gimmick lasted longer. Again, surprisingly, Jesse retired from the ring following his WWE release, having failed to follow in the footsteps of his fabulous Freebird father, Terry Gordy, while Festus found immense success with Carl Anderson that led him back to WWE for a further 2 stints, alongside a combined 13 tag team championships around the world. Number 5, the Quebecers Jacques Rougeau. Wrestling fans of a certain age may recall the Quebecers for their 3 reigns as WWF.
Yeah, that's true. You think about it, the amount is crazy. The bounty is the ones that are not doing the greatest, especially since he had a game before the Quebecers.
Tag team champions, or for the hidden gem of a match against Bret and Owen Hart from the 1994 Royal Rumble. But you'd have to be a pretty ardent fan to remember their breakup. After dropping the titles to the Head Shrinkers in April of '94, and after having lost many matches to the duo on the house show loop, Pierre had had enough, snapping and attacking Jacques Rougeau on a house show. The result was a match between the two in Montreal, which also marked the retirement match of the victorious Jacques on a house show. Indeed, both the breakup and the blow-off for the prominent New Generation tag team went untelevised. Imagine if WWE...
In case you may know who PR is, that's PCO.
Pulled the trigger on a New Day breakup, but it did it on a random live event in Barcelona. You'd be outraged, well, unless you were from Barcelona. Of course, with wrestling being what it is, Jacques ultimately reunited with Pierre, now Carl, in WCW as the Amazing French Canadians, and they even returned to the WWF for a terse second run as the Quebecers during the Attitude Era, but the 1994 disbanding really marked the end of the road for the second-gen Rougeau. Pierre, meanwhile, is still going strong in 2026 at the age of 58 as the indestructible PCO. He even won the Ring of Honor World Championship. Unrelated, but the company briefly ceased operation 2 years after his rise to the top. Number 4, the world's greatest tag team, Charlie Haas. The state of WWE's tag team division between 2002 and 2004 meant that the world's greatest tag team was a fitting moniker for Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas, at least as far as the WWE was concerned. They wrestled better than anybody else at the time, with their combined technical prowess making them a real throwback to tag team wrestling's glory days of the 80s. Sadly for Haas, Shelton was perceived by many as being miles ahead of him when forecasting a potential breakup, and thus Benjamin was drafted to Raw in the spring.
It was fast, man. Because when you see it, Shelton had it. He never got the deserved push though, but he was talented, yo.
2004. On the red brand, he became an unsung hero of the Ruthless Aggression era, holding down the mid-card fort with enjoyable runs as the Intercontinental Champion and a body of work that could rival practically anybody else on the roster. Charlie Haas, meanwhile, stagnated in tag team purgatory, forming short-lived and indeedly shortly forgotten alliances with Rico and Hardcore Holly, and although the former of those brought him another stint as tag team champion, he wasn't provided with anything to sink his teeth into, so WWE sent him packing into free agency. 2 subsequent reunions with Benjamin did nothing to save his career, all while the gold standard remains the subject of the most underrated wrestler discussions. Number 3, Heavy Machinery, Tucker.
Man. That breakup should not happen on a cool. That should not happen. It was so typical and cliche. It wasn't even funny, man. And I felt bad for Tucker, yo. Even though he went heel, and I don't rock with heels, but at the same time, I felt bad for Tucker. He didn't. That was BS. All because they didn't want Otis to get that. They didn't want Otis to have successful Money in Bank, yo.
A July 2020 report from Fightful Select outlined why Heavy Machinery had been presented so prominently since being called up from NXT. They were both Vince McMahon guys. That's not really surprising. Otis is 5'10 and 330 pounds, while Tucker is 6'2 and 320 pounds. But it does raise eyebrows when you remember how disappointing their breakup was. During Otis's Money in the Bank briefcase defense against The Miz at that October's Hell in a Cell, Tucker turned heel, blasting his now former partner in the head with the case. A post-match backstage interview saw Tucker vent his frustration at being pushed aside during Otis' meteoric rise throughout the year, with Otis subsequently attacking his Turncoat ex-friend. Despite the lack of live audience, the feud had all the makings of being one of WWE's most vitriolic in recent years. And then, well, nothing. Tucker wrestled 3 times between his sudden heel turn and his April 2021 release, but not once was there any follow-up to his betrayal of Otis, who carried on like normal. WWE's excuse appeared to be that they had been separated during the draft. Tucker was moved to Raw while Otis remained on SmackDown. But then what was the point of teasing a blow-off that was never allowed to gather steam? Number 2, Eminem, Joey Mercury.
He's another one that just had unfortunate circumstances as well.
Following the breakup of the Rockers, the fault for Joey Mercury's career flopping once he split from Eminem lay solely at his own feet. On screen, Teddy Long fired Johnny Nitro and Melina from SmackDown, and they were then moved over to Raw. Off screen, however, Joey Mercury was legitimately facing a 30-day suspension for violating WWE's wellness policy, which actually kept him off the road for 6 months while WWE worked out his new direction. That new direction, by the way, well, it was reuniting with Nitro as soon as he was back on television, which led him to an infamous match at Armageddon 2006
bust his face.
that featured a detonation over Joey's face. Indeed, a botched spot up right into Eminem's face, with Joey taking 99% of the impact. His nose and orbital bone were broken, and he required 30 stitches to close the gash. And while WWE tried to turn this into a storyline, it was difficult to run the Eminem gimmick when one of them was wearing a protective face mask. Needless to say, he didn't last much longer in the company after this. As for Johnny Nitro, he became John Morrison. He won several singles and tag team championships and went on to become quite the viral sensation in WWE, and further a file for his jaw-dropping athleticism. And number 1, the Smoking Guns.
Oh my God! Yes! Yeah. Damn. Oh my God. That's definitely a top one right there on the cool. Yes. Cause Jesus Christ. People don't wonder who the hell is Bart Gunn. I mean, of course, I remember. I told you the New Generation was my intro, my full intro in WWE as well too, with WWE at the time, and I was a fan of the Smoke Guns, man, as one of the top baby faces tag teams as well too, man. Back when they both with Billy Gunn and they had the handle mustache, yeah, man, and yeah, Billy Gunn actually had a mustache once his life, yep.
The Smoking Guns deserve a lot more credit than they currently get.
Yes, they did.
They won the Raw Bowl, they won the Tag Team Championships 3 times, which is one more than the Hart Foundation, the Brothers of Destruction, and the Legion.
They was awesome.
And they were one of the New Generation's tandems who were actually good hands between the ropes. All in all, that sounds like
there was a gimmick. There was like what was like the thing that people talked about, downplay about the New Generation being gimmicky and everything. They was one of the rare some of the rare gimmicky characters that worked for a while.
Hall of Fame track record, even more so when you consider some of the slop that has already been inducted. Unfortunately, they ruined it all when they broke up, primarily because of how awful the breakup was. Once Sonny ditched the kayfabe brothers following the end of their 3rd title reign, repeated miscommunication ended when Billy walked out on Bart during an episode of Superstars, but Bart still managed to defeat the New Rockers on his own, rendering the supposedly dramatic moment pointless. From there, it kept getting worse.
I'm sorry. That fight they had, he and Bart and Billy hit the rope. That cell, like he so like his neck was ripped out of his spine. Y'all remember that cell right there? And then they supposed kayfabe wife and whatever was going off. You done enough.
Supposedly dramatic moment pointless. From there, it kept getting worse, as an ill-timed neck injury to Billy prolonged the payoff, which finally happened in June of '97, by which point Billy had become Rockabilly. And despite the terrible name-changing gimmick, it was Billy who became the star. He formed the New Age Outlaws with Road Dogg and joined D-Generation X, while Bart Gunn's claim to fame was winning the Brawl for All tournament and getting obliterated by Butterbean at WrestleMania 15. Well, at least he got a singles match at WrestleMania, I guess. Bart Gunn would then have some sporadic runs in All Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and even attempted a return to WWE in 2003. His last appearance in WWE was his participation in the 15th anniversary Battle Royal. After that, he retired from pro wrestling. Sadly, not much of a Hall of Fame career compared to his other partner, Billy Gunn, who is still wrestling at the age of 62 and is still in phenomenal shape.
Yes, for real, man. dude's like 60. He's jacked like a 40-year-old man, for real, a 30-year-old man, for real. But other than that, this was a good video, though. Oh my god, yeah, that was top. I should say Marty Jannetty should got the number one, but this was definitely a good top number one right here. That was one why he was last, but yeah, good amount of these was definitely definitely understandable. The Cameron one was, be honest, a fail from the start, and then some was just tragic, downhill, especially Brian Christopher, aka Grandmaster Sexay. Other than that, if you like my reaction on this, like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bird signing off. One love.